Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. It's definitely morning, 1:30 p.m.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
All right. Thank you all for coming here. Is this coming through okay up there? Yeah, okay. All right. So we are presenting Virtual MAGFest, creating community engagement spaces in VR. And we are largely talking about things that are VRChat and VRChat adjacent. I'll put up our beautiful action hero slide here of the four of us. I am Greg Lord. I am one of the founding members of our VRChat department at MAGFest. We build the VR MAGLord, which is our definitely real version of this very building that we're all in, except themed very heavily towards video game memes and the like.
I feel like I was expected to pick something up and I just didn't get it. I am Texel. I am department head for the VRChat here, and also one of the folks who helped kick off this project in 2020. And I've also been involved with a bunch of Portal projects that have kind of stemmed from the work that we did here. So yeah.
All right, nice. I'm Rod. I'm an otter on the internet. Yeah. But I do the spatial audio, like immersive broadcasting and main events into VR, which is kind of a new thing as of just a couple years ago. How long has the Portal been going on now?
2022 was the first year, I think.
We're in our 5th year now.
5th year? Okay.
For the MAGLord, yeah.
All right, cool. But yeah, I kind of, I'm an audio person as a day job. Do a lot of acoustics and things, so just kind of bringing that into, broadcasting the concerts here. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Silent. I'm the Portal Community Events Coordinator. I like to do a lot of immersive VR IRL crossover event experiences, as well as making events happen inside VRChat as well. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we've each got sort of a different mini topic to go through here, so I will kick us off. If people have questions, I'm glad to sort of pause and go through that. If anybody wants to wait till the end instead, we can do that too. But yeah, all right. So I have presented on my part of this project at MAGFest in the past. I want to sort of keep my part a little bit more brief. I'm I think by far the least technical person on the panel here. I come from sort of a design background and do a lot of the sort of aesthetic side of our work here, which I will kick off with an image of our famous mascot King Donut dancing in VR here in our VR MAGLord. This is actually one of our oldest images used as a promo. This is actually a Blender render before the VR world even was really finished in VRChat. Very quickly, the pipeline for this stuff, for anybody who doesn't already know, is this all runs through VRChat, which means in terms of production, I'll do a lot of our asset modeling and world modeling in Blender. That goes into Unity, which is where VRChat's whole sort of tool set lives. So the pipeline there, I'll often be talking about Blender. But yeah, okay, so origin story time. We begin with a sad face here, which is September 8th, 2020, which was the infamous MAGFest is canceled, as were many other things in 2020 for obvious reason. I was sad about that. I really like MAGFest, so the very next day, I found in my file system, began a folder called MAGQuest, which was me deciding I was going to make a Unity game, having never heard of VRChat at this point. And I wanted to model the MAGLord, the Gaylord, so that it could become a little mini game that was going to be hey, we're all sad that we can't go to MAGFest this year. Let's play some whatever dumb game I was going to make and never made. So MAGQuest to this day is the name of that folder. So that began with basically pulling in whatever reference photos of the Gaylord I could find, beginning a not great model of the Gaylord, which has changed many, many times over the years since then. The point of all of this being that the very first step was when we're creating a community space, we're first creating the actual space. So the idea of a venue this sort of let's make a MAGFest version of this building that's specifically just so that all of us can hang out there was the beginning of that project. So we get into what it's become today, and this is just one of our little Mag TV commercials that we've made, a very quick overview of what this looked like. This is actually from 2 years ago, so it's changed a lot even since then. But the idea of like these little memes like the Danny DeVito shrine, or turning our concert hall into a space sci-fi hangar for our Sun Cats thing, that's at the Rocking Bay. This is our gallery space where we have like a history of all of the MAGFest stuff, people playing music in VRChat, and then the portal, which other folks will talk about here in their sections too. But that's a very quick look at what we mean when we say the VR MAGLord. But yeah, so some goals for that. Boy, does this like dramatic, like showing you the drop shadow first? Like, I couldn't have planned that to be more like exciting for a slide with just text on it. So yeah, the idea is basically like, you know, we want to try and have a space. Like, the idea that this started in a sort of absence of real MAGFest has a lot to do with, I think, the DNA of the project. Like, we're trying to basically like shove the spirit of MAGFest into this virtual experience. I think that's like broad level goals where it became more and more about very specific goals. So that idea of like capture the spirit is like the number one thing on my sort of dartboard there of things to try to hit like as accurately as you can. It's VRChat. It's available for any player of VRChat, and that includes a lot of people who've never even heard of MAGFest. So the idea of making it fun on its own terms, like somebody who's going to find this for the first time, and like we would love them to think that like MAGFest is cool just by finding it out of context and then learning about it. So it should just be fun on its own. Like, we want to create a space that is actually like cool to hang out in for the hours that people will spend together. And then also, it should just be familiar. That might also say, like, it should be authentic. Anybody who's here, especially in that first year where it was a sort of like, hey, we're all gonna like do this instead, you know, that idea that it feels like the real thing was a big goal. So how do you do that? Apparently you make carpets, because we have weird carpets in this building. I heard myself referred to later that year as, oh, the carpet guy, which was not a thing I was ever expecting to be, but there I was. So yeah, apparently starting with like trying to capture the strange carpets in this building was like the right place to start, and everybody got really excited when they saw the carpets. So the idea of different carpets for different sections, this is our like, you know, main like outside the concert hallway there with those like weird blue repeating patterns. One that specifically shouted out the MAG staff. We always have the red sort of shirts with the heart designs, so there's a carpet of all the different red hearts through the years. Carpet in the Rocking Bay, which is our concert hall that it's themed for the Sun Cats, which was the year that was themed after Star Fox, so it's like a sci-fi space hangar with all of that sort of stuff. Other things, the Belvedere, if anybody's gotten to see music at the Belvedere, it's a very, you know, well-loved favorite space. We need to video gamify everything. It became the Belmont, which is a bar and steak house, because, you know. So yeah, we got those memes, don't worry. I hadn't seen this in a long time and was like delighted at all of the dumb puns that I forgot that we made. But yeah, so sadly the real lower atrium does not have an 80-foot King Donut fountain. I don't know why they don't, but we made sure to correct that for our version. So giant King Donut fountain in the bottom, which has changed many, many times. How it changes is when we have, say, a year themed after Smash Brothers, we have a fountain that is the Fountain of Dreams turned into the Fountain of Donuts. Again, King Donut getting the run of the fountain there. You know, Jungle Japes turns into our DK year, which was Big Funkus, so this is Funky Japes here. All of these like mini Smash levels as like set pieces that one can run around and just spend time together in VRChat. We try to capture the theme in these spaces is really all this is trying to say. More recently, we started turning the whole building into like total theme conversions instead of just like putting props around the real building. So last year was Metroid Prime. We turned the whole thing into the sort of various sections like Chozo and Federation and like the big sort of like Metroid guitar tank at the center of what would be the fountain. And then teaser, for anybody who hasn't seen this year's offering yet, we definitely have, I forget how many feet tall, but a giant statue of our Dr. Garbotnik villain here attempting to poison the fountain with his barrel of garbage. So yes, the space this year is very like Sonic themed. We also try to hit the gazebo, like these iconic set pieces. The gazebo was like a Metroid Prime save point last year. And this year it's the sort of Sonic capsule that you can bounce around on springs and all of that sort of thing. So other things that we can do, we're not just stuck building that one world. We had the idea to sort of have a world that celebrated the history of MAGFest. So we have the gallery, which was created during the Doom theme year. So we actually took E1M1 from Doom and turned it into a sort of Gaylord version of E1M1 that was all about celebrating the history, specifically the Swag project. Those are the sort of electronics badges there. You can see the sort of what is a Swag video, which, you know, is like the intro to people who are coming to this not already knowing MAGFest or knowing about Swatches. But yeah, the idea of these total conversion space is just to sort of give like people a place to learn about things, but also hopefully it's fun and funny. But yeah, that's like I said, that's the history of MAGFest and E1M1, et cetera, et cetera. Very cool project in our front row here. We have the architect. This is CN Lore and the square wave bird swag. It actually appeared on the swag before this, the year before this. But the idea, this is supposed to be a video, and it's I guess not playing. But turning the oh, good. I'm glad that's not making it to the screen. I have Firefox popping windows up in front of me. Yeah. I can actually, well, I'll pull it up and show it later. The idea was that the very, very low poly version of that same Atrium model was something that CN Lore got working as a small handheld version of a flight sim. That you can at least see the image there of like flying around. And eventually it was interactive, and Texel will cover this part more, but yeah, like getting that to be something that you could actually play in a handheld custom game console that MAGFest makes every year. And that, again, shout out to CN Lore for basically things that I don't believe are rightly possible, and yet there we are playing it. Lastly, just sort of a preview of what we're doing this year in this space. We want people to have fun while they're in these worlds. The portal, which is something that I think Texel will talk a lot more about, is basically the place where you can live interact with our VRChat community and basically like stand in both sides of this virtual reality, interacting with each other. But we also want the world to be something that's fun if you're there all day. So we have a Sonic theme over the whole thing. We have springs to jump around, little tunnels to run through, donuts, which are definitely not the rings from Sonic the Hedgehog to go collect, leaderboards for collecting them, just to sort of give you a shout out, weird theme spaces where Dr. Garbotnik has his own fast food restaurant called Garbies that you can go and enjoy. A fast food restaurant that is definitely not serving you actual trash. But yeah, so these are the many things that you might go and play with if you were to spend a day in our VR space, and hopefully like be having fun while you're there, in addition to actually all of the sort of social stuff. So creating these spaces is the goal. Or I actually wrote a slide of the goals. We want to basically like just try and capture the excitement of this space. I think everybody's really happy to be here. We want to like make sure that comes through in the space that we're creating. And the theme, I work for the theme team for MAGFest. A lot of the assets are things that I'm already working on anyway. So the idea of like, well, how can I make this something even cooler in VRChat? Like we can actually turn the entire building into Sonic the Hedgehog when we're talking about creating a VRChat world. The idea of toys, like something that people can just play with while they're there, like the running around collecting rings or bouncing on springs, or like, all of these sort of interactables. And then lastly, so the portal is an interesting, like it is far and away, I think, the feature that has made all of this the coolest over the years. Texel's about to cover it a lot more than I will, but like the idea that people here in this space, when they walk past the portal, like we want them to see it and think it's cool, and we want them to have a reason to walk up and interact with it. So the idea of making it interesting looking even on this side of that portal, like if it's a big Sonic theme, hopefully that's more interesting to somebody that doesn't already know what a VR portal is, to walk up and check it out. And then all of a sudden now they are interacting with VRChat, and we've got maybe a new interested audience member. So yeah, that idea of just like trying to put the fun into that is a big goal. So I will hand it off to Texel here. Mouse. You have the
let's slide that down.
Yeah, did that work? Oh, you've got a mic cable on your way.
Playing the game of Pass the Laptop.
Close enough.
Yeah.
What could go wrong passing a laptop near many bottles of water?
All right. Cool. So I'm Texel. And as Greg said, I will be talking more about our portal and some related stuff. We gave a talk here, I think 3 years ago, about the project. Greg also mentioned that, where I'm sure I talked about the portal a bit. So I'm also going to try to talk about some of the directions that this has gone since then. So quick raise of hands. Who has not seen the MAGFest portal here? I can probably just get off of the stage now. But most of you are familiar with the portal and have probably interacted with it, and I'm going to give you a review of the portal anyway. And rather than trying to explain what the portal is in words, I kind of like to just show it through a little reel of video, because I think that really kind of captures the essence of it, and I don't know how to run a video. Wait, no, it's going.
I think it was, and then we paused. There you go.
Okay, yeah, we forgot to take that little header out. All right, so we got a bunch of clips that we took at the first MAGFest portal here, both on the virtual side and the real side. And one of the happiest accidents about this first portal is that we were put right across from a jam pod. And I can't think of anything that captures the essence of MAGFest better than what happens in the jam pods. And being able to expose that to the VR visitors, most of who were MAGFest attendees who couldn't attend because of all the fear around the pandemic, is just like the most magical thing. And also, I was introduced to Ugandan Knuckles at MAGFest. I didn't know about it in VR for years.
Same. Same.
But here you can see, like, literally we have a band playing in the back, and they can hear that in VR. And you know, we got someone pulling out their prop trumpet to play with the trumpet player. It's honestly like magic.
Yeah.
And since we did the run at MAGFest, a bunch of these portal projects have happened. Many of them inspired by what we did at MAGFest, and different kinds of them. So what we see here at Vancouver is a dance portal in their rave, and that's become one of the most popular and predominant forms of these portals. You can't talk through them, but you get the music and the vibe. At BLFC, we had like the lowest, easiest to put together portal I can think of, which was a TV and speakers, and it still created an amazingly interactive and fun experience. And then here at Virality Gateway, we had a very high production creation where we took over a whole room and created like almost a recreation of a virtual space in real life along with the portal. And that particular one introduced like kind of like a holographic screen type of thing through parallax. It's just a trick. But it's a really neat effect, and it's really cool to see how each of these iterations kind of builds on this concept. So we didn't invent the portal, but I think when we put ours together, it was a pretty uncommon concept. I know at least JMOF, which is on there, has done it before us. But most of the logos on here all the logos on here have done a portal since we ran that first MAGFest portal, and I've been directly or indirectly involved with most of those. There's also a bunch not here that I just don't know about. But you know, what we did at MAGFest, I think, had a big impact on what has happened since then. So looking specifically at our MAGFest portals, we got the last 3 years of them here. And you can see that they've kind of changed quite a bit through each iteration. You know, in 2022, that first portal, we were kind of stuck in a little reg box with a sheet that we hung up over the door, and we had a little projector in the back. And it was pretty washed out and hard to see, but it was a bunch of fun. And the next year, we got moved over to where VR Zone was, and we had a big projector. But it's really hard to fight that light in the hallway. But we also, you know, tried to build on that. We put LED tubes around it, and we hooked it up to, what we're familiar with in VRChat called Audio Link, implements a mode called Color Chord, which was conceived by MAGLord and implemented on the MAGFest swatches before it ever made it into VR in the first place. So it's this like beautiful full circle moment.
Although the lights themselves were actually driven by audio link itself.
Yes, that's what makes it even more beautifully full circle. It's just like it's an Ouroboros. And then last year we got moved over to where the promo tables are in the corner in sort of the main junction. That's where we still are right now, and we moved up to some 3 televisions side to side. Kind of solves the light problem. I'm pretty happy with it. It's a bit harder to work with, but you should check it out. It's the same setup running this year. And then, we have the virtual side of that as well. And Greg has talked a lot about this, the theming. But, that first year, we set this up in the, recreated space in the convention center. And if you kind of look carefully at that image, you can probably tell where that is. If you can't, it's by the escalators. That's where everyone hung out. And then the next year we decided that, trying to let's put this in an iconic place that people will feel better about hanging out. And so we put it where the gazebo is, because everyone loves hanging out by the gazebo. And we've kind of stuck to that pattern, and then the years that came after that, we started heavily retheming that space. And so we see the gazebo in the Metroid year, with the holographic trees and all the sci-fi stuff. And then the following year, it's all Sonicified. And it's a really neat recreation, and it kind of tracks with how these projects have sort of evolved from their pandemic roots. When everyone was sad that they couldn't go to their cons, it was very special to be in a recreation of your venue. It really connected you back to that space. But now that things have kind of gotten going again, it's more interesting to explore the more exotic. And it's kind of like what the VR space is. I think that's more what it's about. So, besides just the regular portal function of like going up and talking to your friends, we've tried doing some neat things to extend that concept. So I mentioned the sound reactive lights we put up with the color cord. That year, we also tried to introduce a mobile portal that we could move around at different parts of the MAGLord. It only got put out a couple times, but we had a portal next to the gazebo for a few hours. And on that, we also introduced special programming, which Silent is going to talk about. So I'm going to sort of skip by that. But on that mobile portal, we had integration with the swatches. We go back to what Greg showed us with the swatch flying game, that turned into an interactive shooter that you could play on your swatch in the MAGLord with VRChat players playing a different role in the same game. You're both in the same physical space, and those VR players are rendering as little stick figures on your swatch, and you're controlling ships flying around in their space and hoping you don't get your butt blown up, which you probably will. And that's all, again, the genius of MAGLord here. It's probably one of the most incredible things I've seen put together at these installs. So here's a video of that game. That's MAGLord actually playing it on the right, and if you look carefully, you can see a little Star Fox ship flying around with bananas being shot at it and trying not to get blown up. And he got blown up. Sorry.
It was very cool.
But no, it's seriously one of the coolest things I have seen. And if you want to learn more about that, because I can't do that justice, MAGLord published an entire video on this, which you can check out there, Dueling Across Realities. Highly recommend it. But it's not just MAGFest that has done cool things, so I want to talk a little bit about what other cons have done to sort of build beyond the basic portal. In the little montage sequence, I mentioned Virality Gateway, which did a whole room install where the whole point was to recreate a virtual space in the real world. So all the walls had projected scenes from those worlds, and we had the holographic portal. And it just sort of, really tried to bring, the physical people into the virtual instead of the other way around. More recently, so I mentioned the dance portals are a pretty popular concept. How do you build on the dance portal? Well, what if you could recreate all of the stage lighting from the real show in your virtual stage? And that's what has been recently done a few times by Waterwolf. They call their system Stage Sync, where they are able to capture all of that live DMX from the show and pipe it into VR. And so their fully themed world is experiencing the same light show that everybody else is while they have the portal going at the same time. So we have a little demonstration of that. In the pictures here, the theme was university. So in the stage, they like hung some banners up, and it's vaguely like university gymnasium-like. Well, in the virtual world, you just created a gymnasium.
I think you might have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure if you search the title, you probably find it too. Oh, listen to Charles.
We can say it into the mic. What is it?
Game made for VR on a $1 processor.
Okay, so game made for VR on a $1 processor, he says, is the YouTube title of the video. Yeah, that's the thumbnail.
The joke is that the CPU on the swag is actually $1.
The CPU on the swag is the dollar board, just to say it into the mic, yeah.
All right, so in the video here, it's a recording from the Tech Island at the con, and in the lower corner is a capture from VR. And if you look carefully, you can see that the stage lights are actually doing exactly the same thing, just delayed by maybe a couple seconds. Incredibly cool stuff put together. But it turns out you can also do the opposite. Another thing that Virality put together was a recreation of their virtual rave in a conference room. So, we have this incredible factory mech light show going on, and we kind of cobbled something together on the right there, and it's being fed by exactly the same data that was running the live show in VR the prior year. So, here's a little clip of what it looked like in the virtual world, and then the same show playing in a conference room. Just very neat ways to connect things back and forth. That's sort of the magic of the portals, and you're not just limited to one kind. There's so many varieties. So recap, we're connecting the virtual and physical attendees together with these installs. We can bring virtual attendees here. You put them across from a jam pod, and they can feel the vibes of your event. But we can go the other way too, and bring our physical attendees into the virtual. They usually cost a little more money to do that, though. And it's all about enabling these kind of magical shared experiences. I'm gonna pass this off now to talk about a few other ways that we sort of connect people together beyond just these portals.
We've lost the video.
Oh,
You unplugged the cable.
you didn't need video, did you?
We just need the mouse.
Let me fully replug here.
Oh no, past the laptops, come back to bite us, yeah.
Yay. This next section is called No Signal. All right, there you go. Is that? Yeah, that would be good. You can click anywhere, but yeah.
The box. Oh.
Yeah, oh, that's my Firefox pop-up.
All right, here, let me do this because I'm blind. All right.
Here, tell you, let me end and restart the show just so that it gets rid of my pop-up there.
No, it's still there.
Is it gone now?
No.
Come on, Firefox, you're killing me.
You like alt tab and space. Press space. Space bar.
Oh, spacebar.
Nope, didn't work.
Sorry, 1 second, I'll fix this. All right, and show.
There we go.
Okay, right when I had it, I killed it. Okay. Subtitles not available. Okay, I think you're good.
All right, so I can actually see. Hey, everybody. I'm Rod. Yeah, we left the otter thing. The joke is I'm an otter in VRChat, so I'm just going to leave it in there. So anyways, I'm Rod. I'm the guy that's kind of playing around with porting the concerts in the main event stage into virtual reality. We're kind of doing some pretty cool stuff behind the scenes, and the mouse is not working. Oh, there it goes. Oh, wow, you really have to click like right on the thing. All right. All right, so yeah, the past 3 years I've been kind of working on this experimental project kind of alongside the Portal and stuff to bridge the sound of MAGFest into VR. MAGFest has some really awesome music here. Like it's some of the best music of any communities that I've been a part of, and I've always thought it's been a super cool thing that it would be awesome to be able to port that into virtual reality so that everybody can get that experience of being at MAGFest or in the audience of all those concerts and stuff. So with my prior kind of history of being a professional acoustics engineer and kind of knowing stuff about VR, VR has like a lot of crazy capability for doing crazy audio stuff. But I haven't really seen anybody take too much advantage of it quite yet. So what I was playing around with here at MAGFest was trying to develop like what is the craziest we can take this, what is the best audio experience we can try and bring into VRChat alongside of the Portal and this other stuff going on. So anybody done a concert in VR before? Yeah, that's what I like to see. Sweet. So yeah, there's lots of concerts in virtual reality. There's a bajillion electronic music events. They're super popular. There's a lot of events like Shelter. I can see some people wearing Shelter merch out there. A lot of awesome clubs out there that actually have Patreons, and they're supported fully off of their Patreons and are able to bring these awesome music events to you online. But when it comes to instrumental music events, it's kind of hard to come across them sometimes. They're a little rare unless you know a few specific groups that do concerts. You won't naturally come across them. And if you're attending one, sometimes depending on how the audio is done, like they can sound a little off, or sometimes it's hard to feel more engaged. So because it's kind of naturally like trickier to do that with instrumental events. And so they're kind of missing that energy of live music. You know, when you go to a concert and you listen to a concert in either a concert hall or a professional or like a big concert venue, hearing the crowd around you in the audience, it gives you like a unique vibe that's kind of hard to recreate in VR. And it's also like it's magical, and it creates that deep connection with the artist. And so I want to try and bring that into virtual reality. And that thing that we're missing is acoustics and kind of the spatial presence. So you have your direct sound source in VR and Unity, and you're rendering it to your receiver, but in default Unity, it doesn't have acoustic reflections or reverb or things like that are required in like big orchestral concert halls or things like that. And so in order to bring that in, I've been playing around with this concept called Field. So I wrote a piece of audio software for Shelter a while ago that takes a stereo input and it makes it spatialized and adds some virtual acoustics, so it feels a little bit more natural and kind of engaging in the space. And here at MAGFest, I'm testing out kind of the crazy version of that, where I'm making a piece of audio software that combines the power of a full audio console object-based like virtual acoustics with geometric like algorithms and stuff, encoding each of the individual sound sources into like a 3D space, and then a custom like workflow that anybody can use that has ever touched an audio console, or even people who haven't touched an audio console can use before. So this is what the software looks like. It's pretty cool. It's essentially a 52-channel mixing console with spatial audio, and then it pipes it into virtual reality using 5.1 spatial audio. So it's kind of like Dolby Atmos, but it's designed on a platform that's specifically intended for creating like lifelike sound in virtual reality. To do that, here we're using audio over IP. So we're essentially taking audio directly off of the audio consoles and the stage boxes and all the computers that are in the main event space. And we're piping that into a Windows computer that's running this piece of software that I'm developing. And then that gets sent out to an OBS streaming computer, which then goes out to VRCDN, and everybody can view it inside of virtual reality. So it's pretty neat. This is what the console backstage looks like. That picture's probably a little small to see it on the screen, but pretty much we just have a little Minis Forum PC and then 3 touchscreen monitors that are plugged into it, which allows us to mix it just like you would with a normal audio console, but we can pan things around like inside the world. So when you're inside the world, the rocking bay in virtual reality, you'll actually hear the audience like surrounding you. And you'll hear like the acoustics in the environment of the space that is the main events room. And then each individual instrument we can place pretty much anywhere on the stage or around you in the room, so it's pretty cool. And yeah, if you want to know more about it, or a little bit more about how you can do the same at home, I have a panel tomorrow at 11:30, and you can actually download the software for free online. I just launched it a couple days ago, so yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think it's
Question. Yeah.
Or more of like a comment, but like I did some instrumental performances at this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Midnight Melodies. It's folded. The plus side of things like that is that people like me who haven't gotten a lot of opportunities to just fly places, drive a lot of places, you can just perform from the comfort of your own home. The drawback, of course, being you're playing from your own avatar's microphone or the equipment that you have. Me, for example, all I got is voice meter and a blue snowball. If you ask me, just poor hardware, we have that kind of going. But just seeing how rare they are and how many of those communities end up folding over time just goes to show how rare these
Yeah.
really are.
Yeah, so like I'm trying to create a solution to help like make those feel more engaging in VR and like sound super nice.
All
And
to say is it's
yeah.
just really nice to see how far we've come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for all your work on that, really.
Hello, I'm losing my voice. I'm silent. Just one second. I'm silent. I'm the event programming coordinator for the VRChat portal. And I am very eepy and very, very tired.
I feel that.
So I have been working with portals since late 2020. Primarily in VR. I work a lot within the VR music scene and the clubbing scene, watching DJs and helping DJs perform. And quite early on, I noticed that all the DJs were doing were creating mini portals between themselves and the VR worlds. And so primarily the way that a DJ performs is they will take their video and audio and pipe it into a video player and have that broadcasted within VR. And that's exactly what a portal is. I wanted to bring that to the next level myself. And I remember back in 2020, pitching up a portal on my garage door with a few friends. And seeing how magical of experience it was to be IRL and to experience my VR friends as they experienced me. So that's how I got started. And then in, what was the first year y'all did the portal?
think 2022 was the first
Yeah.
MAGFest after all the pandemic stuff.
I was obsessed with portals, and I remember coming to MAGFest, been going to MAGFest for a long time, and then I walked by the portal. I was like, no freaking way they're doing it. And I walked up to them. I was like, hey, please, can we get DJs through the portal sometime? I would love to do that. And then that's how I got my start as the programming coordinator with this team, this beautiful, beautiful team. So as, the rest of the team is very, very technically minded and put in a lot of work and effort to make this stuff happen. And I feel like I just yap to make the kind of event coordination things happen. So we have 3 different kinds of programming that we do at the portal. We have VR community panels. So that's a VR community speaking from VR into IRL about what they do. We have the virtual DJs where we have VR DJs performing from VR to IRL. And then we also have a cross reality gaming night. And I'll speak about those a little bit. When I found VRChat was after a bunch of years of being at MAGFest, and I realized I'm like walking around VR, getting to know more about the communities and everything that's happening there, and I'm realizing, oh wow, VRChat is kind of just MAGFest 24/7. It's full of like the most amazing, talented, just incredibly. You have everything at MAGFest, but within VR. Game devs, event coordinators, artists, the whole gambit. I was just mesmerized and blown away that there's so much crossover between the two. And not only like the feeling and vibe, there's crossover, but there are tons and tons of MAGFest people, the people that have been doing a lot of stuff in this space in VR as well. And so it kind of makes sense that there's this kind of cross-pollination of DNA and, you know, kind of why we're here today. My role with the portal, I feel like, is sometimes being an outreach for VRChat to try to pull people into what we are doing. A lot of people look at VR and think it's just memes and a bunch of people screaming and running around, but it's much, much, much more than that. And so I host the community panels where we have some of the most vibrant, amazing communities that you can join today speak about who they are and what they do. Communities like the Trans Academy, Helping Hands is a VR sign language community, the Filmmakers of VR, which is a filmmaking community in VR that make films in VR. And so much more. And I just want to be able to give those people that spotlight because they deserve it. And I also really, really hope that people walking by the portal and watch the panel can be like, oh, I can get on my computer tomorrow and join this community instantly and pretty much be able to live the MAGFest vibe indefinitely like I have found myself doing for the past 5 years. Yeah. And then we have the virtual DJs. So I remember looking at the VR rave scene and thinking about MAGFest and being like, huh, music and gaming. That's exactly what I do every night in VRChat. Put on a headset, kind of a video game, if you know, technically, and you know, having all these amazing DJs perform. I've seen a lot of portals combined the VR IRL clubbing experience. And most of the time what I've seen is you have IRL DJs performing to an IRL crowd, and then it's also being piped into virtual reality. And being on the virtual side of that is sometimes feeling like the party that you're watching the party you weren't invited to. And it's kind of a bad feeling. I just like see my friends really having a lot of fun, and it's great to be able to interact with them and see them and, you know, give them hugs through a portal. But it also is just like, I want to be there. That kind of sucks that I can't be there. And I've been wanting to flip the script on that, and that's what the VR portal has allowed me to do. So what we do, instead of having IRL DJs perform for IRL and VR, we have VR DJs perform for VR and IRL. So when you're at the portal watching these DJs perform, you feel like you're the one that's not invited to the party. But then you realize, wait, I'm at MAGFest, so like I think I'm getting the better end of the deal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I also just want to give those VR people more of that experience of feeling like they're at MAGFest. I want them to feel like they are a part of it and not just entertainment for us, but more of like, yeah, we're witnessing their part of the world. The other thing that I like doing about this, having the DJs perform, is there's a lot of people that love MAGFest, have considered trying to come to MAGFest, but live very far, or are financially strapped, or can't travel for many other reasons. And so giving this portal for DJs to perform at MAGFest who otherwise might not be able to make it is something I just very much love to do, and it seems to be appreciated by the DJs, the people around them, and their friends. Coordinating this is really hard. I primarily will coordinate events in VR, or surrounded by my friends, being able to talk to them directly because I have a headset on, they have a headset on, or I'm coordinating events IRL. So I'm just standing next to my friends, you know, who are putting the event together. So if there's a problem, I can just run over to someone and say, hey, this is the issue. IRL VR crossover events kind of gets really messy because it's really hard to communicate with one another, especially when I'm trying to use Discord, have AirPods in, and then the MAGLord internet decides to be the MAGLord internet and not really want to function. So a lot of my coordination and setup happens before the convention starts. Lots of meetings, and mainly having my VR coordinator, Arby, who has been such a heaven sent for me in trying to make these things function. We're able to figure out how everything's going to flow beforehand, and once all I have to do is walk up to the portal, switch our instances, and kind of do a little bit of setup, and then I say, hey, Arby, go, and then Arby just takes the reins and is able to kind of execute everything on the VR side for me, which has been incredible. And then, of course, I'm there to make sure that nothing's happening on our side or communicate when there are issues. But it is a very, very, very fun, challenging little puzzle that we are constantly figuring out and solving. I'll check my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. The last event that I don't really have a slide for is kind of very self-explanatory. So we do the VR panels, the community panels, the virtual DJs, and then we have a game night. And this is just, I set up Jackbox, we stream it to the IRL and VR, and then VR people and IRL people can play Jackbox games together. And this will be happening tonight if you all want to come through. It's 8 p.m. tonight, play some Jackbox games with VR friends, and just hang out, and we'll have a good time. And please, please, please behave and write good answers and not make me have to moderate everything all the time, always. But yeah. I'm so grateful that this team has brought me on to do this. My favorite thing to do in life is to put my friends on stages, whether that be their communities or their performing DJs, and hopefully some more in the future. I really want to get into acoustic performances as well. And there's so much more to do with event programming through portals like this. And hopefully one day maybe we could get a room and have panels around the clock, not just having community speak, but that's a pipe dream. But yeah, that's what I do. Hawawa.
All right. Blanco. I think we have lots of times for questions here, but yeah.
I have a question. Game night, is that just like a once a year thing, or is that like weekly?
So sorry, good question. So the question is the game night a weekly thing? So this is just for MAGFest through the portal. We just host this IRL VR crossover game night. Yeah.
And that's tomorrow at what?
That's tonight. Tonight at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Yeah. Come have fun.
So a bit of a two-parter. The first part, how
I don't have any stats on that, but I would assume most people who show up at the portal are on headsets. But it's totally viable to show up on desktop, and a few people will. And I encourage anyone to try it if they don't have a VR headset, because it's still a neat way to connect.
Second question. So virtual DJs are playing music in VR and then broadcasting it out. Have y'all experimented with like musical instruments? I know, remember I work at Meta on the Quest headsets. We added support for external microphones. You can hook a microphone up to your headset and then stream audio in that way. So has anybody experimented with like violins or other instruments doing like little mini concert hall like stuff?
The question is about experimenting with like live recording instruments through different sort of audio tech there.
Yeah, a lot of that's been done before. Going through the microphone does work, but from what I understand, the VRChat voice protocol it limits the kinds of audio frequencies that are coming through and the quality that's coming through. Primarily, the way that our DJs do it is we have video players in VRChat that can pull up like a Twitch stream or a private like CDN. So primarily, we use a VR CDN, which is a sub-second private CDN that kind of goes globally. And one day we would love to do something where we have people that are doing mix downs, and there's a lot of acoustic performers that do and able to like mix it down and have it sound good and to like port it into these video players.
Technically, we already have had live performers do stuff that wasn't into the portal, but actually no, it was. Doug, not Doug, Lucy, played some instruments and stuff into the portal from his avatar video. So
Yeah, it has been done through the portals. It's also been done for virtual events where musicians will record and stream, either through a more sort of professional production process or through their microphone. And we've some of the Ferality events are live musicians doing that. Another group that some of us have been involved with called VGM Together has featured a little bit of that. So it does get done here and there, and I would honestly love to see it get done more.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Trying to make it more popular.
Okay.
So, the portal's only up to the weekend, but for those of us who are here who want to experience the world, can we go when we get home on Monday, log in, and view it year-round? Really just refresh.
Yeah, so the question is, are the worlds still around after the event is over? Yes, we do keep the world up year-round. I would say maybe, is it fair to say like the approach is like it's sort of there until the next event when we sort of replace it and then archive this version of it as a different world?
We actually create a new world for each one,
Yeah.
so the old ones do stick around. And if we get some time, I'd love to like create a little hub so you can easily get to them all. But they're all there. You can check them out.
Definitely, yeah. They all stick around, and then we have things afterwards where people like our friend Blanco here help us arrange the MAGSad we were calling it after the event is over. And
Like, draw too much attention. Like, when is the MAGFest party this year?
when you tell us it is.
Yeah.
Next Sunday, I'm free. I'm gonna host it.
Next Sunday, it sounds like, yeah. But the idea is like, having a sort of like con come down by way of let's all go hang out in the virtual space and then like watch the concerts and all of that. But yeah, so something that I guess we can arrange through Discord or whatever.
How do they find the worlds?
If you search MAGFest, probably all of them will turn up.
Yeah.
If you go scan the QR code that's on the portal right now, it's going to a web page that has some very basic info, but we'll have some stuff published there as well. So that should be one reliable place you can like bookmark.
Okay. Yeah.
So you said you did work with your theme team for MAGFest?
Yeah.
As well as your portal team?
Mhm.
How long, how far ahead is the team decided on in advance, and how much time are you allotted to make the world with that in mind?
Yeah. The question is, I guess, how far in advance does MAGFest pick a theme, and then, I guess, how does that integrate with the VR side of it? Yeah, I am one of the designers for the theme team for MAGFest. I would say the goal is usually, internally, MAGFest will have a sort of planning session in April every year, and definitely by then, sometimes by as far in advance of then as we can. But yeah, the idea is that basically that gives us the whole year to sort of be working on all the assets that you'll see around the hotel. It's nice for me because I basically, like, I will have those assets and then can be thinking about, like, okay, well, what was the coolest thing we could do with this in VR? So the idea of, like, turning the gazebo into the, like, Dr. Garbotnik, like, capsule or whatever, like, that all kind of comes organically from just, like, being able to work on those theme assets. So that's a nice advantage there. But time is, time is always the problem, so it's nice to have as much of it as you can. But yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you ever tried stereo cameras on the portal so that the video in VR can be 3D?
I was going to ask that, but also volumetric capture to have
Mhm.
that.
Expensive.
We as a department have not done this yet, but there have been people in the community experimenting with it.
The question was about.
And I think that we have if you want to answer a little more on that.
We talked about it, but it just never got in the cards.
Yeah, it has been talked about internally, but we have not actually pulled the trigger on that. But it has been looked at within the community, and there have been demonstrations of it, and some events may have actually done this that I am not fully aware of. Might happen here at some point. We'll see.
Mhm. Yep.
I'm sure how to run a portal can be a long discussion. But is there any quick advice you guys would give?
Yeah.
So the question is how would you run a portal and what advice would you give? I gave a panel in VR 3 years ago on how to run a portal at Ferality Aqua. So if you search for that, you can find my presentation and slide deck on it. On the spot, I can't put a cohesive answer together for you.
We should make a YouTube video or something.
A bunch of pieces, but it's actually not as hard as you might think it is. So
Yeah.
it really isn't.
Have a great team, yeah.
It's actually kind of hard at the scale of a convention because there's a lot to think about, but just the basic technology of it is not hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, start in your bedroom. It's just a video call. It's just a two-way video call, and there's ways to blow that up, and you have to like just consider like sound and sound isolation and stuff like that. But it gets very complicated very, very quickly, even though it's a very, very simple idea and concept.
We did.
GPU recommendation for that?
Hmm?
Minimum GPU recommendation for that?
Are you
Minimum
showing
GPU
anybody?
recommendation.
Yeah, you don't need much at all.
3060 Ti, right? That probably wouldn't be enough.
The
no,
stronger
totally,
the
yeah.
better. So the question is how strong of a GPU? The stronger the better, but you're not running the capture in VR. It's in desktop, so
Yeah.
you have a little more headroom there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know if folks are using standalone devices to join this? Has anybody tried to see if this is, like, will this run on a standalone VR headset like a Quest 3, or is this basically PC only?
The question is our world PC only? The answer is yes. We were going to try and make it Quest compatible this year, and of course we run into crunch and we ran out of time, and
Yeah.
the world hasn't been properly optimized for it. Our concert hall, however, is Quest compatible, so you should be able to join there. And a lot of events do try to make their stuff Quest compatible these days. It can be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, it's always a goal, and it's part of the production. It's just a different sort of branch of it, I guess. But yeah, I think we missed your question earlier. Yeah.
Were there any issues that you encountered that's like baked into Unity or like VRChat or VRChat SDK? Like any particular issues that you might remember?
Particular issues in Unity or VRChat SDK.
There's always issues in Unity.
Let's just put the Unity logo on the screen.
No, you put the Unity logo with the red exclamation point on the screen.
There you go. That's the one. Yeah. That's a favorite image posted in our Discord often.
We all like to beat on Unity. It's not that bad.
Yeah, we are almost at the end of our time here. coping, yeah. I think we have maybe time for one more quick question. We can definitely hang around and talk afterwards, too. Yeah.
Also a question, just kind of wanted to expand a little bit about the question earlier about like live performances, like instruments and stuff. I've been helping a band called First Class Coffin with basically we were trying to do live performances in VR or like then broadcast it to VR again. And this is like expanded to all sorts of portal. But their setup is kind of wild. So their singer is in California and their bass player is in New York. So they use some network protocol to stream the audio, then they do the mixing on a computer in New York, and then broadcast that through basically again. And I've helped a little bit with the systems of the world, making that sort of work. And I've also made a cool system to delay the lip sync on the avatar so that it actually matches up with the video player.
Cool.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Trying to make it more accessible. And actually, the bassist is going to be coming over in just a few hours, so maybe introduce him together.
So I can't repeat that whole comment, but is that all like live?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is about
I would love to hear
synchronizing.
more about it.
using
So
something
catch
like
up with
some of
us
us.
after,
Yeah.
like at the portal.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to be after this panel, by the way. So if you have more questions, come find me there.
Oh yeah, we should do that. That's where we'll be for the after questions. Come see the portal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shameless plug. Yeah. Um, hmm?
I'll say come to the portal and see me, technical questions.
Yeah, Amaya here will be one of the people answering questions who's been instrumental in setting all of this up and yeah, running the whole thing here this weekend. But yeah, I think we're at time. So
Yep.
yeah, we'll wrap up there. But yeah, thank you all very much for being here. Yeah.